guys, so today I am sharing with you my story of how I got to college as a first generation college student. It's going to be kind of long, so I'm sorry if you wanted a short and concise video. This is not going to be one of those, but yeah, I'm just going to get right into it because it is long. So I grew up in San Francisco. I grew up in a tiny studio apartment in the Tenderloin. And so for those of you that don't know, the Tenderloin is notoriously San Francisco's worst neighborhood. It's known for drug violence, gang violence, prostitution, etc., you name it. And despite growing up in that neighborhood, I had a really great childhood. I wouldn't have asked to change anything. I really enjoyed living in the city, just hanging out with my brother all the time, going to the library, walking downtown. But that does mean that I was exposed to a lot of the ugly side of humanity at a very young age. And so that's just a little context of where I grew up. And I went to a public school that was in that neighborhood. And this school is pretty new. It was awesome. It was like 7 years old. Pretty much everybody was a person of color, and there was one white girl in my graduating class. So yeah, super diverse. All of my friends were people of color. And I kind of just assumed, because I didn't really leave the Tenderloin or downtown ever up until I go to middle school, I thought that San Francisco was a poor city, but I didn't even really think of us as poor because we were normal. Obviously, like, you grow up and you think that whatever you are is normal. So I was like, yeah, everyone's the same as us. I didn't know that wealth existed, really, in San Francisco. So we get to 4th grade and I apply for a program called the SMART program. And this program is unbelievable. I will talk about them a lot more later, but they changed my life. So it stands for School Mentoring and Resource Team. And essentially their mission statement is to close the education gap, because I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but only 9% of low-income students end up earning a college degree. So they want to provide financial, social, emotional support for students like myself, kids that are underrepresented, where the odds of going to college are very low. The odds are high or low. Basically, it's not likely that kids like us are going to go to college. So I would go to after-school programs and we do workshops, we do tutoring, stuff like that. They were unbelievable. I was in this program from literally 4th grade to 12th grade, and they still email me now, and I still, like, all the staff has changed, which is very sad, but like, it's still an unbelievable program and I owe them everything. So anyways, they gave me a full ride scholarship to go to this really prestigious middle school that was in Pack Heights. So I literally went from being in the worst, and I still lived in the Tenderloin, I went from living in the worst neighborhood in San Francisco to going to school in the wealthiest neighborhood in San Francisco, or definitely, I think it is the wealthiest. So you can imagine what that's like for how old was I, like 12 or something? Yeah, 12-year-old girl. I can do a whole video about what that process and transition was like, because it was not pretty. It was not shameful, because I love who I am today and I wouldn't be who I am without that experience, but it was very, very difficult, to say the least. My entire social setting changed. I went from a very diverse school to a school where in my grade there were maybe 5 other minority girls. Anyways, we fast forward to high school. So because I received a really, really great education at this middle school, then I was kind of propelled into going to also a really great high school. The SMART program only provided a scholarship for middle school, and at that point they weren't like a high school college access program yet, but they were making the transition. And so they were able to help me in applying for aid through the different schools, but they weren't providing me like a full scholarship. So when it came down to it, I got into this really prestigious high school. It's a college prep, like one of the best in San Francisco. I got in and I got aid, so I was able to go. While I was applying to high schools, I did apply to both public and private schools. Okay, let me just say, my middle school, the tuition was around $29,000. My high school, the tuition was, it was $42,000. That is unreal. That is so incredibly expensive to be spending on middle and high school, and that's the kind of school that I went to. So you can kind of see that my life has changed a lot And I kind of became socialized in this way of being around really, really wealthy people. And because of that, a lot of people that I've met in high school, because by this time I've already been pretty socialized by my middle school, but by the time I got to high school and college, a lot of people that meet me don't believe that I am a first generation college student. I remember there was one time where I went to a first generation college student celebration event thing at my high school, and this is like after we all got into colleges, and I think everyone already decided, and it's kind of weird because we didn't have that before, so it could have been more of like a support group at my school, but it kind of was just like, let's celebrate you, which was still cool. But then for the first time I got to meet all the people in my grade that were first gen, and I remember I showed up and I was like, Nina, why are you here? And I was like, what? Like, I'm going to college. Like, I'm the first in my family to go to college. And they're like, no, you're not, you're moneyed. And that was so, like, it was really weird, and it's a really strange thing to be offended by. I know that that's not how they meant it. They meant it in a way that was like based on the way that you present yourself. Like, and I get this a lot. The way that I speak, the way that I speak and talk, the way that I speak, the way that I dress, the people that I hang out with, then people just assume that I am this certain kind of person, that my parents did go to college, that I have a lot of money. And it's all an illusion. It's not something that I try to do purposefully. I think it really comes through in my fashion and the way that I present myself. Like, I want to be seen as somebody that's grown, not somebody that was this all of my life, because I was not. I still hold on to that little girl from the Tenderloin with dear life, because I don't want to not be her. She is me, and I don't want to forget where I came from, all of the struggles that my parents went through to get me to where I am. So I guess that just goes to show that you can't ever make assumptions about people. You never know their story. You never know where they came from, what they've been through. But I got into high school and I worked my butt off. I mean, I've been working my butt off for like years, ever since I got in the SMART program, because I always felt like I was at a slight disadvantage compared to my peers, because they had tutoring, they had parents that could edit. Okay, guys, I would go to school with some people with that, like, their parents would edit their papers, and sometimes they might even write their papers for them. Whereas for me, like, this was kind of my wake-up call. I was like, oh wow, like, I really am at a disadvantage. My dad was trying to write a memo for work, and he asked me to revise it, and I was like straight up revising that thing. Like, it's so interesting because the roles reverse, and this isn't true for everybody that's first generation going to college, but in a lot of ways, like, you end up becoming smarter than your parents, like academically smarter. And that's a really weird transition to go from your parents teaching you addition and multiplication to all of a sudden I'm correcting my dad's memo. But it's something that I did really appreciate doing for my dad. I thought it was really sweet, and I know that they are so incredibly hardworking, and they've done everything that they could have to get me to where I am today. And so yeah, I worked my butt off while I was in high school. I did extracurriculars. I continued going to the SMART program. I managed a social life, a relationship, and I kept my grades up, and it paid off, because when it came time to apply to schools, I got into pretty much every school that I applied to. And when it came down to it, I could only choose from 2, of course, because of financial reasons. But I really would not be where I am today. Like, I didn't even know that I was going to go to college until I was maybe a freshman or sophomore in high school. I remember my friends and I talking about it, and I was like, I don't know if it's for me. Like, it's really expensive. That's what rich people do. My parents always pushed me to achieve academic success. This is true for a lot of kids, especially immigrant kids. Your parents will push you to achieve success, but for girls, it is very confusing, because my parents would tell me that they want me to become a doctor, but they also told me that when I have kids, then I would have to stay at home to take care of them. So this is a very confusing message, because you're trying to work out the timeline. You're like, I have to go to school for like 10 years to become a doctor, but then if I want to have a family, which I do want to have a family, then I have to stop that, and then what's the point of going to all that school if I don't even end up becoming a doctor? It's just, it never really made sense to me, because I was like, I had this sexism placed upon me, which is very real for a lot of young girls, and this is kind of separate from like my whole process, but it is still part of it, because I didn't think that college was really something that I needed, and it didn't make practical sense for me if I was going to start a family. It's because I was surrounded by so much love and support by so many adults through this program, through my schools, my teachers, that really believed in me and gave me the support when I needed it, and even sometimes without asking for it. Like, you need to surround yourself by people that want you to succeed. There's no other way around it. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I was so blessed to have this program come into my life, to have parents that love and support me, that it made it that much easier for me. It wasn't easy, but it made it easier. Because I did have people to turn to. And so my only advice to you through this video is to seek out support. And if you don't have counselors, program advisors, teachers, anyone, any adult in your life that you can turn to, that can help you on this journey that you want to go on, find them. Because I promise you that there are organizations out there are people out there that want to help you. And so I know that I talked about this program a lot, but they are unbelievable. I'm going to put their link in the description box below. Other programs like this should exist, so if you're watching this and you're thinking about starting a nonprofit for kids, then check them out because they're awesome. Or if you live in the Bay and you want to donate your time, that's dope too. I really appreciated any adult that I could talk to at that age. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, if I was going to go to college, all of these adults were so helpful because I couldn't get that kind of experience, information from my parents. And so I really, really, really hope that you guys share your story, because I know that this is just mine. And I hope that my story helps to inspire somebody that feels like they don't belong in college, that it's not for them. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I know people that have overcome struggles way more drastic than mine. And this is not to compare anybody's struggle, but I believe that by sharing our stories, one, we learn more compassion, but it's also like, I want to create a community where we're proud of each other for the things that we accomplish, and everything that you've accomplished up until now, like, be proud of it. And I promise that you're gonna meet some incredible people. There are always other people like us. And so I encourage you to share your story. And if you want to make a YouTube video, that would be dope. Or just like leave it in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. I love being inspired by other people. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks, bye.